Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon, and guess who's back with us after skipping the last 3 shows?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Is it too late to talk about the Kentucky Derby? Huh? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, probably like
you
5 days late.
In today's episode, Jamal Murray gets fined, 2 hockey games go to OT, and Kevin Weeks joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with 2 lopsided NBA playoff games from last night. The Celtics beat Cleveland by 25 points in the opening game of their second-round series, and Oklahoma City beat Dallas by 22 points in the opening game of their second-round series. 2 games without any drama. Wilbon, which of these series do you expect to eventually become tighter?
Maybe. I certainly don't have that expectation at all for Celtics-Cavaliers. That's not going to become tight. That's a 4 or 5 game series, despite Donovan Mitchell and whatever heroics he might be able to produce. Nice game with 33 points last night. That series not going to be tight, and it shouldn't be tight. Now, a lot of folks, and I think our dear friend Tim Legler, have picked Dallas to beat Oklahoma City. I'm not one of those people. And part of it, Tony, after seeing last night's game, Luka Doncic, like a lot of people at this time of year, slowed by a leg injury. And when that happens, you know, Oklahoma City's too good. I mean, people know Luka and Kyrie Irving, and they don't know Oklahoma City. Well, get used to them. You know, get used to watching a great young team with great young players led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all right, and Jalen Williams. These guys are great. Lou Dort can guard you. Lou Dort is going to be helped by Luka being hobbled a little bit, it seems, but Lou Dort can guard you because he may be the best on-ball defensive player in the league. So Oklahoma City got a lot of stuff going. I haven't even mentioned Chet Holmgren. I don't expect Dallas to win that series. I expect Oklahoma City, which is undefeated in these playoffs so far, to win that series. But that series could get tight. It could.
Yeah, I'm not going to refute anything you said. I don't see anything that Boston has to worry about, even without Porzingis. I mean, when you realize that it took Cleveland the full limit to get rid of Orlando, then they're not going to scare Boston. I mean, that series, Cleveland-Orlando was on NBA TV, which is the NBA's way of saying, please don't watch this. So by default, I'm picking Oklahoma City as well. They're a very, very, very young team. They're a very, very good defensive team. But, and here's the only but I can say, they have very limited playoff experience, if any playoff experience, anybody on that team. So they would theoretically appear to be vulnerable to a team with Kyrie Irving, who's won a championship, and Luka Doncic, who's been in the playoffs. But Doncic must be very badly hurt. He had 19 points last night, Mike. 19 is the lowest he's had in 2 months. He shot from 3 the last 4 games, 5 for 35.
Yeah.
That's awful. You know, there's something wrong with him. You always give the conventional wisdom that a young team needs to be beaten and maybe even humiliated to learn what that's like to then go out and win. But that doesn't have to happen in the second round. And so I'm not sure that either of those series is going to be tight at all. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Tony, that's a good point. And on Luka, all those little in-lane shots, that fadeaway shot, they're hitting front rim. He's not getting pushed off. He's shooting the lowest he's ever shot in a stretch of games from 3-point range. And he doesn't want to make an excuse. Last night, he's like, so what? We lost. But, you know, if he's not closer to 100%, Oklahoma City's too good. You're right about them being young, but they seem to not be aware of that just yet. Jamal Murray will not be suspended for Friday night's Game 3 against the Wolves in Minnesota. Instead, the NBA decided to fine Murray $100,000 for throwing a towel and then a heating pad toward an official and onto the court during the Nuggets' Game 2 blowout loss. Tony, did the league get the punishment right?
Okay, so discipline and punishment are touchy and tricky things. They are a balancing act. What Jamal Murray did by throwing first the towel and then the heating pad, which, as you say, got on the court, somebody could have tripped on it, broken an ankle. What he did was childish and petulant, and he looked like a spoiled brat. And in the regular season, Mike, I think they'd have sat him down with a suspension. But these are the playoffs. This is where the NBA makes money, with eyeballs on the games and ratings matter. Denver's the defending champion. They're down 0-2. They're going to Minnesota. If they don't win both, they're not going to win this series. Jamal Murray has stunk in the playoffs so far. He's shooting 37.5% from the field. He was 3 for 18 in this game we're talking about, which is John Stark's land, but he's the second best player they got. If you take him off the court, you're killing that team. So in the sense of balance for what the playoffs are, I'll say it's okay just to find him and not sit him.
I might point out, Tony, that he did win 2 games in these playoffs.
That's right.
As much as he may have stunk statistically so far, he won 2 games with buzzer beaters and put himself on a short historic list. But now to the punishment. It's weak. It's weak need. And here's why. Jamal Murray, whose exemplary behavior has characterized his career. This is the first run-in. Jamal Murray didn't have run-ins. It's not Draymond Green, okay? But he threw something at an official. He did. He had intent. He threw this thing at Mark Davis. There's no denying that. I don't want to get a call from the league officer saying, how do you know? We all know. Don't think we're stupid. So what does he have to do? Does he have to hit the official? He threw something at an official. If you bump an official in any sport, you're suspended. So he threw something at him, and the league lets it go. I've been going back and forth on this because Richard Jefferson, like you, made a really compelling case about postseason and regular season. And I get that, Tony, and I lean that way until I think one more time, not only could he have hurt players on the court, a teammate or an opponent, he threw something at an official.
Mike, I get it. I get it. And I'll just be very brief about this. He did that. But if you want to keep him in the game, you can say, nobody got hurt. It didn't hit anybody. Nobody got hurt. And we can have him in the playoffs if you want to do that. You think it's weak. I think it's a delicate balance. Let's move to hockey.
Kevin, to ask you about the Sharks winning the draft lottery last night, presumably taking Macklin Celebrini. Is he a franchise-changing player? And presuming he's chosen first, who do my Blackhawks, who are they going to be left with to choose second?
Oh, I see how you set me up with that. I'm about to walk out. You set me up with that. Listen, Macklin Celebrini, first of all, he, I believe, has all the tools to be a franchise-changing player for sure. Second of all, he came into NCAA college hockey and shredded it up as a 17-year-old. Can you tell me the last hooper that was able to shred up NCAA college basketball at 17? And then win the player of the year? And then win the player of the year? So he won NCAA hockey's Hobie Baker for player of the year. So that tells you just how dominant he is. He's unafraid of the stage. His dad worked for the Warriors. He's listened to the likes of Steve Kerr, Draymond, Steph Curry, and everybody else. So he's unafraid of all of the other things that go around being a professional athlete. He's accustomed to them. He's grown up in it. So that's not going to faze him. But his skill set allows him, I believe, from what I saw at BU and my former teammate, Jay Pandolfo, who's the head coach there, I think he has a chance to be franchise-changing. For the Blackhawks, I think it's either Demidov, the young Russian forward, who's super skilled and a game breaker too, or it could be the defenseman at Michigan State, Lev Shunov, who's very, very good as well. That's who I think the Blackhawks are looking at in the 2 spot.
We're so tired of the Blackhawks. And by we, I mean me. I'm just so tired of talking about the Blackhawks and their draft picks year after year after year. Stop.
Oh, man.
All right, let's move on. We'll get you out of here on this. We want to ask you about one particular moment in last night's Rangers-Hurricanes game. I know you watched it 10 times. When you watch Jacob Trouba trying to take out Martin Necas, what do you see?
I'll tell you what I see. First of all, I haven't played for both teams, but I'll just say with the home team as a member of the New York Rangers, sometimes you could hear the train at Penn Station underneath the floor or the ice at the Garden. But we have never seen a train come off the tracks and come up to the Garden. That's what I saw yesterday. The Trouba train came off the tracks, came unhinged at Penn Station, and it launched itself in the Garden yesterday. Jacob Trouba is one of the hardest hitters in the league. Everybody knows that. And when you're matched up against him, you always have to have your head up. And narrowly, Martin Necas was able to escape that. But the Trouba tracks came off the train, or the train came up the tracks, rather. And I can tell you what, it was a near miss for Martin Necas, and thankfully he's okay. Jacob Trouba is a bad, bad man. That's a tough guy to face.
Thank you, Kevin. Although I'd like to call you Weeksy. If Gretzky calls you Weeksy, we're going to call you Weeksy.
Kevin,
You
appreciate
should.
it.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much, fellas. Thanks for having me.